before I get here.
Well, it's not that I get to him before you. It's that I'm here earlier than you, and so the boss oftentimes will come talk to me. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Do you want me not to talk to him before you get here?
I'm always ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah, that's for you.
Okay.
Yeah, if you don't know it.
Anyway, so the boss comes in today, and we threw around this question, and I said, it's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good question. I like it.
Because I don't know what it is.
I know. And so we were going to tell you, and he goes, hey, don't tell Goo it. Just hit him with it on the air.
Yeah.
And, of course, Goo's one of these guys that now he's getting all panicked. Yeah, he's worried about improv.
Oh, please.
He likes to be.
That's my middle name. I was like, don't tell me, hush.
Yeah, I told you, it's not that big a deal. Chris Rose joining us at 10:30, though. Get us started on some football. Host of NFL Network, John Boy Media. You can also check out the Chris Rose podcast. Okay, here it is. Good.
All right, I'm ready.
He's got heading into the playoffs. Who's got more pressure on him? Brock Purdy or Kyle Shanahan?
I called the boss in here. Don't even play the music. I'm mad that you guys thought this was provocative.
Play it.
It's not even close.
Oh.
It's Kyle Shanahan. And Bonte left out of here after the show. We got a little show going after the show, before the show. And he said if they were to slip up and lose this week to Green Bay, 9.5, it's down to 9.5, the spread, this would be monumental. He couldn't think of anything comparable. And we thought about the 3-1 blown lead the Warriors had against the Cavs in 16. But my gosh, Brock Purdy's already 2-1 in the playoffs. So he showed us he could answer the bell. This is about what we talked about, and the closer Saturday gets, people, this is about Kyle punching his ticket. When will it happen? He could have had one in 19. He's been to 2 NFC championship games, and he has some stuff, I won't call it blood, on his hands about why they didn't close or get to, another Super Bowl. So, Steiny, this is not even remotely close. It's Kyle Shanahan, and there's 2 scoreboards. If this somehow is a close game, is Kyle going to pucker up and get lemon booty in regard to the play calling? Because we saw that happen, and I'm not comparing him to McCarthy, but McCarthy, Darth Vader was on the Cowboys sideline because they were such favorites. And they, choke again, Lord Vader. So I want to see if that can get to Kyle somehow. I don't expect it to, but as far as pressure, Steiny, you can't talk me out of this one. This whole playoffs is about Kyle, not getting to the Super Bowl, but winning it, bud. You got everything at your disposal.
Well, it's Kyle.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I'm sorry, it's Purdy.
Oh, my God.
Shoot.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, no, Purdy's got more pressure.
Please explain.
I will.
Shout out Roxy.
I will. But, before I do explain, this topic is such a vintage for you and me because, you answered like you answered, and I thought it was a passionate answer. To me, the pressure's on Purdy.
But why?
I'll tell you why. Whether you like it or not, and I can't stand, or rather, you guys can't stand when I say this, but it's a fact. Kyle Shanahan's now in his 7th year as the San Francisco 49er coach. He is going. If Kyle Shanahan wants to be here, he's going to be here for another 7, 8, 9, 10 years. He just is. He's widely known as one of the best coaches in football. He's got a long-term contract. If the 49ers go out and they get beat by the Green Bay Packers on Saturday, Kyle Shanahan's going to be the coach next year. Now, whether or not Brock Purdy's the quarterback next year or long-term, that's more in doubt. See, Kyle Shanahan's been here. He's got one thing left to do, win it. But he's got plenty of time to win it. He just does. He's a young coach. He's not going anywhere. Brock Purdy, on the other hand, is in his 2nd year. All systems go. He looks great. But, and I said this to Nahegan, I said, Matt, are you telling me if for whatever reason Brock Purdy were to struggle in the playoffs, let's say he struggles against Green Bay or he struggles against Detroit, they lose, I said, what are you saying? That there'll be questions about Purdy going into next year? And he's like, yeah, there will be. And I'm like, wow, you think? He's like, absolutely. So the more I think about it, the more I think Purdy's got to deliver because his timeline is shorter than Kyle Shanahan's.
Wow.
I just think it is.
I'm not.
I get I'm sorry, I get he's young, And I'm not saying if he loses a game, you write him off. Of course, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying I kind of expect Kyle to knock on the door year after year after year, and eventually he's going to break through. You want it to be this year. If it's not, maybe next year. But Purdy's got to prove to me over a quicker period of time that he can be the Super Bowl or he can be the franchise quarterback. That we're not just talking about this year, we're talking about, look, this guy's going to get it done for the next 6-8 years.
Okay. See,
that's why I think he's got pressure.
No, and the dynamic, you made some stellar points. I don't agree with all of them, but Steiny, let's be honest. Put the rat on the table early, brought to you by Atco. The dynamic of the show is I'm more micro, you're macro. You're more the executive, I'm more the fan. You're right. I'm not saying Kyle's job is in danger if they were to slip up. He's got that. My point is the confidence that fans have in Kyle, the second season, which is the playoffs. So somehow, let's just say there's a scenario to where Brock Purdy's okay or pretty damn good, and there's a blunder or a decision to go for it on fourth down or not to go for it, or the defense just looks crappy. My thing is the pressure is Kyle's got all the accolades from afar. He's got the contract situation to where it's all Kyle, rightfully so, but I'm talking about from a fan perspective. The only way the Niners could lose to Green Bay and maybe their next opponent, Detroit or Tampa Bay, if there's a coaching blunder, the question is, okay, man, now we're talking about since 2019, a 10-point lead, and I'm going to bring it up, against Kansas City in the Super Bowl. Imagine if Kyle would have punched his ticket thin, the confidence you have in Kyle in the playoffs. I think that would take a major hit. And unless you're telling me Brock Purdy wets the bed and has a bad game, which could happen, Steiny, I'm going to sit here and tell you, okay, now you're telling me Sam Darnold's a better option. I'm just telling you guys, I think Brock Purdy, already 2 playoff wins under his belt. The one that he lost, he got took out early. I just think he's got enough. Kyle
Shanahan signed a contract extension through 2028,
no doubt. But
I believe.
I'm going off of confidence that you would have in Kyle in the playoffs.
Who cares? He's got fans. That's fine, but he has total job security. Complete and utter
what you're saying
job
Brock
security.
Have
if I'm sitting on a 5-year contract, I'm not feeling as much pressure as you think. I'm just not. And here's the thing. Why wouldn't Purdy be the quarterback next year, Steiny? 916 on the Comcast Business Test.
Like, you think there's a bad game?
No, okay. I was talking to Matt Nahigian, my boss.
Yeah.
And I said, do you really think that if the 49ers get beat before the Super Bowl, let's say it was either this week or next week, and Purdy struggles in that game, he wins a game, then they lose in the NFC Championship and he struggles. I said to Nahigian, you really think Purdy would come into next season with a lot of questions about whether he could get it done? And Nahigian said, absolutely. And that's when I said, that's when I started to think about it. Yeah. Brock Purdy's timetable to deliver, you could make a case, is he's on a shorter leash than Kyle Shanahan, because Shanahan's not going anywhere, and Purdy, it looks like Purdy's not going anywhere. It's like here's the other thing. And I know it's apples to oranges, but not really. Shanahan's going to be here, I think he signed through 2028 at least, maybe 2029. He signed an extension at the beginning of this year, though, remember? I thought he lasted till I thought he was through 2025, then he signed an extension for 3. Nevertheless, he's going to be here for the foreseeable future. By the way, did you see that through 27? Boy.
And who would you rather have right now in the NFL outside of maybe John Harbaugh?
Exactly. I'll say I can make a case that I don't know all the coaches' contracts, but Kyle Shanahan's got less pressure on him than any coach out there because, I mean, he's more secure than McCarthy. He's more secure than Sirianni.
But it's just about, like Eric Spoelstra, you talk about, you've always talked highly on him, Steiny. He's got a ring. He's got rings, okay? Forget he's with all the good ones have the hardware. So I'm just wondering, when I look at the landscape of this year's playoffs with who's left, even the AFC, I'm just like, Kyle, I think so highly. Daryl Johnson, I think so highly of you. I do wonder, because I criticize you and critique you, because I feel like you've gotten in your own way when you didn't throw the flag last year. That's neither here nor there. Maybe Purdy doesn't get hit if they overturn it. But it's just like, when are you going to get it? Now, I get what your premise is. Gooch, he's here, and I'm not saying he shouldn't, but it's like
no pressure on Shanahan.
He's got the best, one of the best teams, I believe, and the best opportunity to get it done this year. And if he doesn't,
and if he doesn't, he'll have just as good of an opportunity next year. He will. And according to you, you think the Niners are set up for a dynasty.
I do.
I mean, if you're saying they're set up for a dynasty, then that leads me to believe we want to win it this year, but if we don't, we'll get it next year.
Yeah, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys he should be fired if they were to slip up, but I'm telling you something's going on. Like, it'll be hell to pay. I think Kyle will take the most brunt of a Niner slip up.
If the 49ers get to the Super Bowl and Baltimore beats them 22-21, are we going to start saying Kyle's a choke artist?
I would. Yeah,
is that what we're going to start doing?
I would believe I could go to a whiteboard and make that case.
At 8,
and I'm not advocating.
He would be 8.
You should fire him.
He would be 8-4 in the postseason at that point.
Yeah, but what's his record in Super Bowls? 0-2.
Okay, 0-2.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's the big, like, to me, 7 years. He's been here 7 years. That's not a very long time. I don't think it is. Now, do I think they should get to the Super Bowl? Of course they should get to the Super Bowl right now. But we're like Kyle Shanahan has proven he's an NFL coach and he's one of the best in all of football. That's what he's proven for 7 years. Brock Purdy's played for 2 years. He's shown that he's one of the best quarterbacks going right now.
Got 2 wins in the offs.
Well, why do they count for Purdy but not for Shanahan?
Well, because he lost the biggest game.
Who?
Kyle. He was up 10 with 6 minutes left. I'm talking about 2019. This is pre-Purdy time.
So you're holding 2019 against him.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay. Because you think the 49ers were better than the Chiefs. They lost the lead to the Chiefs.
They outplayed the Chiefs that game. But I watched it 100 times. Nobody could tell me the difference. Now, and I believe Kyle had something to do with it in regard to the play calling. Now, the 3rd and 15, and they got lost.
So you think Kyle Shanahan's got a coaching problem in the playoffs? You think he's got a coaching issue?
I'm not ready to say that, but it's in the file. And if they don't get it done now, as you being the favored, then now what if Purdy goes out there and throws 4 picks?
Were the 49ers, were they the favorite in the Super Bowl against Kansas City?
No.
Okay. Have they ever lost? Were they the favorite? Were they the favorite against the Eagles last year?
Nope.
Okay, so he really hasn't lost a game that he should have won yet.
Well, when you're according up 10 in the 4th quarter,
right? But they weren't favored to win that.
Okay, I don't
care about Mahomes
that.
put on that game's more about Patrick Mahomes in my mind.
Vegas, and I'm going what happened on that Sunday, and they were up 10 on the Rams in the 4th quarter.
That's why I take Patrick Mahomes.
So forget the bet. Oh.
That's why I take Patrick Mahomes over any other quarterback. Like, it was a Patrick Mahomes moment. Why? Like, I don't think it was necessarily a Kyle Shanahan lost it moment. It was Patrick Mahomes. That's greatness. And Jimmy Garoppolo,
well, that was Stafford.
Whose fault was it? Garoppolo or
a combination?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's fair to say Kyle Shanahan chokes or gets lemon booty, but we can also say, well, Jimmy Garoppolo missed a wide open Emmanuel Sanders.
And Tark dropped the interception. I get all that.
I don't think that.
I just think there's pressure on him, Steiny, and I think there was pressure on Mike McCarthy. And I honestly believe he coached tight, and it got him. I don't expect that to happen to Kyle, but it can happen.
I don't believe
real.
I don't believe, but it's just another playoff for Kyle Shanahan. It just is. Mike McCarthy might get fired, right? Yeah. Sirianni might get fired. Kyle Shanahan's not getting fired. He's not getting fired.
Yeah, but again, the fan of the show, Steiny, I'm talking about the confidence you'll have in him from the fan base. You don't think he'll lose? Okay, that's all.
Okay, so go ahead.
And I'm not advocating if they lose or something fluke happens, run them up out of here. But you can't be the greatest or a god.
Nobody called him that except people before he won a damn thing.
But when are you going to punch the ticket then?
I don't know. He's got 25 years to do it in my mind. How long did it take Andy Reid?
He didn't get it done in Philly.
Okay. Maybe Shanahan doesn't get...
Eagle fans don't give a damn about the 2 that he's got in Kansas City.
But they were wrong. Eagles fans were wrong for moving off Andy Reid. If the Eagles moved off Andy Reid because they thought he wasn't a Super Bowl winning coach, they screwed up, obviously. That's not on Andy Reid. That's on the Eagles.
Well, the Eagles got a Super Bowl after Andy Reid left. Okay. So I don't know how much they're missing Andy. That's what I'm saying. Andy ran into one of the greatest quarterbacks, and I'm with you.
I think they're missing
with
Andy
Patrick
Reid.
Mahomes.
I think Andy Reid's a better coach than Sirianni.
Coach Peterson got a Super Bowl. They weren't missing him with the backup quarterback, is my point. They got a Super Bowl without Andy Reid.
So
so at the parade, there was no tribute to Andy Reid. It was like, okay, we've moved on, and we got a Super Bowl. Something Andy couldn't do, and he had hella opportunities to do so.
Right, but the failure is the Eagles, not Andy Reid. Andy Reid is bigger than the Eagles. If Kyle Shanahan, they lose, and Kyle Shanahan gets fired tomorrow, and he goes somewhere else and wins a Super Bowl, then it's like, I don't give a damn that the 49ers fans don't care. You wanted him out of here. Like Andy Reid, I get it. Andy Reid winning a Super Bowl in Kansas City does nothing for Eagles fans. That's right, because you ran him out of town. So he stuck it to you. He left and stuck it to you. So if you're telling me that Kyle Shanahan's under a lot of pressure, I'm not saying you.
Yeah,
Kyle Shanahan, if they lay an egg against the Packers, they may fire him.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that at all.
I know you're not. Okay. I know you're not. But what I'm saying is, at that point, if the 49ers move off Kyle Shanahan, he goes and wins it somewhere else. Sorry. That's on Jed York, the fan base. If the fan base was pushing for Kyle,
what's the pressure on Purdy to you then? Because I think he's a made man for at least another, even if he were to have a
Okay, I think Kyle Shanahan is an infinitely more made man than Brock Purdy.
I totally get it.
Well, that's where my pressure comes from.
But
there's nothing at stake for Shanahan other than
there's pressure on Brock, then the way I look at the roster and the depth chart, you're telling me the only guy he's got to be worried about is what they have now, and that's Sam Darnold. I don't think he's a bad game away from Darnold being a threat to take his job.
Okay.
If it were to happen.
Well, I don't think Kyle. Right. What about three bad games?
Well, then yeah.
Right. And what I'm saying is
the next season. Who
do you think's more likely to be here in 2028? Kyle or Purdy?
You got it.
Well, that's
Kyle.
That's the only way. That's how I'm answering the question. I mean, I know we all live and die, and if this isn't the year, then we're gonna protest and we gotta fight. Kyle's not going anywhere. Kyle will coach in more playoff games than Purdy plays in.